everyone, welcome back. It's that time again to set up my monthly bullet journal setup, and July is looking pretty cute. This month's theme is one of my favorites so far. We're doing Taro Café. Think aesthetic pastries, creamy lattes, and everything in shades of lavender and pastel purple. So let's get started. For the cover, I went with this cafe table scene with 2 cups of taro latte, taro-filled croissants, and some loose lavender stems here and there to tie the whole thing together. So this month's theme is really all about that soft, cozy cafe vibe that I'm calling Taro Café. And the whole style I'm going for is kind of a mix of a chill, soft, playful, and cute vibe. It's meant to feel relaxed and slow, like you're sipping a lavender latte at your favorite cafe on a sleepy Sunday. I wanted everything to feel unrushed, like the layouts are clean and functional, but with a little wiggle and whimsy still. The color palette is all soft lavenders, pastel purples, with some hints of green to complement the cool tones, but nothing too bold. I wanted that kind of plush, pillowy softness that feels good to look at. I'm not going for uber realistic at all. It's more like a cute daydream doodle. And right here is where you'll see that I realized mistake number 1. I colored what was supposed to be a brown croissant purple. Luckily, it was just the first layer, so I easily ignored it, moved on, and colored over it. I try not to sweat over small stuff like this anymore, especially with markers like these that can do a lot of damage. Also, I interrupt this programming to give a moment of silence for these nails, which are of course inspired by my theme this month. But anyways, honestly, the goal was to make my journal feel like it's smiling back at me, like a warm drink and a soft blanket, but on paper. And yes, you see that I am using my ohuhu markers against my better judgment. They are alcohol markers, so they bleed a lot, and this paper, not built for that. But I love how they blend and how juicy the colors look, so here we are, making life harder for ourselves in the name of art. It's honestly not that big of a deal if you're okay with skipping every other page. It's always a little nerve-wracking with these markers because they bleed so much. I do actually have to skip every other page now, like just straight up abandoning entire pages because the bleed through is wild. But it is a sacrifice I'm willing to make for layouts like these. So let's talk coloring for a second. My go-to technique for these types of markers is pretty simple. I always start with a light base layer. Even if I know it's going to end up being super dark later on, I like giving myself that foundation first. From there, I slowly build up the shadows and midtones. Think of it as like sculpting, just with ink. So here I'm just adding the base purple and green to my lavender, which I then go back with darker shades to add the depth it needs to look a bit more realistic. And I'm just repeating the process to the other lavenders. With shadow work, I tend to wait until the very end, like here. I'm adding just a touch-up of cool gray around the croissants and the lavenders, and it suddenly makes everything pop. I honestly love how cozy this turned out. I think it's giving a sleepy weekend brunch with a book, or like Studio Ghibli opens a bakery in Paris. And here lies a page that will never know its purpose. And moving on. Next up is the monthly calendar. This took a little longer than expected, mostly because I decided to draw an entire storefront. Not sure why I thought that was a chill idea, but I love it. Now it's done. I decided to use a Dutch store style again for the monthly to make it easier to flip through a few of my planners and trackers, and it's always super fun to make. It's a lot easier to make actually this time with my paper cutter and corner cutter, literally cutting my time in half. So let's just take a quick slight tangent. This is something I think about a lot while journaling. When I created my Instagram account, it asked me what category I am, like public figure or artist, and I always hesitate. I figured I'd pick artist, but honestly, it never really feels right, never really resonated with me. I don't really see myself as an artist in the classic sense. I mean, I'm not painting huge canvases or designing full compositions from scratch. I make spreads. I doodle cute things that fit around boxes and grids. And yes, I love doing it, but it's not what I think of when I hear the word artist. If there was an option for pretty good doodler or even bullet journalist, I'd pick that in a heartbeat. But maybe that's okay. Maybe being creative doesn't have to fit in a certain title or aesthetic. If it makes you happy, if it helps you express something, if it feels like you, maybe that's enough. Anyway, back to outlining my cute doodle of a cafe. Of course, I don't do a monthly layout without a pun that follows my theme. I know that I could probably do better, but making a Taro themed pun is not that easy as it turns out. If you can think of a better one, please leave one in the comments for me. For the whole cafe, you'll see that I'm starting with a light cream color to get the warm base in. Then I go back in with darker and darker shades to add the depth it needs. Of course, I'm using reference picture to help visualize where the darker values are. And of course, I always want to go light to dark in this type of process because it's always easier to go darker. It's almost impossible to go lighter. for the lavender flowers on my awning, I'm going to start with a light base, which in this case I'm using an Ohuhu V230. Then I go back in with some darker petals using a V250. And lastly, I'm adding a few more darker touches for depth with a V060. And one of my favorite things to do is add a little bit of texture with some hatching here and there to make the building feel less flat and more lifted. Right there is where I noticed mistake number 2 of not using ohuhu markers on a Dutch door, because I actually will be using the other side of it this time. But you live and learn, so as I'm finishing numbering off my calendar, I'm thinking of a backup plan and trying not to freak out. So I'm going to go to my go-to fix of just covering it up. Luckily, I have this standard tape that's simple enough to use, but with not too complicated of a design to write on. It's moments like these that make me thankful for making those types of mistakes in the first place, because I never would have thought to use this washi tape if I hadn't accidentally used the wrong type of markers to cause the bleeding. Now I feel that it adds such a good pop to the layout and really breaks up the spreads and makes it look less blended together. Here it is, my content planner, ready to track my video ideas and social media posts. For the playlist section, I thought it would be fun and creative to do it in the form of a cafe receipt, where it would be itemized and list out the songs of the month that I listen to. The coloring on this one was kind of tricky. After I colored in the base layer, the darker toned parts were really just me creating the folds and wrinkles of the receipt to make it look more realistic. So I really was just improvising and trying to figure it out as I went along. For my month at a glance, I kept it pretty simple, nothing fancy, just enough space for events, birthdays, appointments, those types of things. A little trick that I do is to highlight the weekends just to visually break the month up. Because I personally feel like I live for Sundays lately. I just feel like I need like 5 Sundays a week. Now we get to one of my favorite layouts, the mood tracker. This one I made each day a cute aesthetic taro dessert. We're talking taro swirl cakes, taro crepe cakes, taro cupcakes, taro tea cakes, taro buns. You get it. So by the end of the month, it should all turn into a pretty cool dessert display case, depending on how I'm feeling. This part is always my favorite part, the outlining. I don't have to worry about shading or layering. It's calming and mindless, and I just take my time tracing my own doodles. still have to color in the shelving and background just because I want my future me to only worry about coloring a dessert a day and that's it. So here's me doing the same process of going in with my base layer, and I'm actually using the same colors I used for the cafe to keep it all cohesive, but also just because I already had those specific colors pulled out and I didn't want to go back in to my markers to look for a slightly different brown. And just so you don't feel freaked out, I colored this part pitch black on purpose because I am going to be going back in with a white gel pen for the writing to give it that chalkboard menu effect, and I think it looks pretty cool. For my habit tracker, I'm keeping it basic this time, just tracking a few things like biking, journaling, posting, and medication routine. I used a simple layout to mark out my habits to kind of balance out all the art I've been doing for the last few spreads. In other words, my hands basically want to fall off at this point, so it wants to call it quits. I did, in fact, though, still add a small but cute doodle of this wooden stand to tie the whole cafe concept together. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me today. Let me know what your July theme is in the comments, or if you're just here for the cute aesthetic Taro snaps, which I understand completely. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to see more artsy chaos every month. Again, you can see these spreads and more on my Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and TikTok at Dilly Doon Journals. So here's just a full flip through of my July Taro Café spreads. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. Until next time, stay cozy, stay creative, and remember, blinking markers build character.